Chapter 1917, Ecuadorians. Park Guo-chang thought that the other party would make harsh demands, such as making him a puppet and offering up all of the resources of the KG kingdom. He didn't expect the conditions to be so simple. He raised his head in disbelief and looked at Zhang Yi. "Yes, Your Excellency. I will definitely do as you say. Do you have any other orders?" Zhang Yi smiled faintly. "No. You'll have to fend for yourself from now on." Zhang Yi gently patted him on the shoulder. In an instant, Park Guo-chang had a feeling in his heart. He was like a grasshopper facing an incomparably powerful god. The person in front of him could kill him with just the thought. "Yes, yes, yes, yes." Park Guo-chang nodded vigorously, not daring to disobey in the slightest. At this moment, a gust of wind blew through the sky, signaling the return of Lu Karen and Deng Shintong. Lu Karen stepped out of the mecha and excitedly came to Zhang Yi, looking eager to take credit for her achievements. Her cute little face flushed red. "Brother, I completed the mission beautifully." She didn't know when it started, but she and Yang Xinxin no longer called Zhang Yi by his name, instead calling him brother directly. However, Zhang Yi didn't object to this way of addressing him. On the contrary, he felt a sweetness in his heart. Who could refuse two smart and cute little girls calling him brother? Zhang Yi rubbed her head affectionately. "You did a great job. You're the MVP of this mission. By the way, how did you deal with the Reapers of Love in the missile base?" Zhang Yi asked. Lu Karen leaned over and said, "I've already dismantled the core components inside. Now there are only ordinary missiles and no Reaper of Love warheads." Zhang Yi nodded. "Very good." Now, Lu Karen was able to make the Reaper of Love, but the key materials were still difficult to obtain. The Tianhai city base needed to develop, and it would require a lot of energy in the future, so they naturally accepted the radioactive material equivalent to 50 Reaper of Love missiles. Just at that moment, Zhang Yi heard a slightly excited male voice in his ear. It was Hoou from Shadow Space. "Mr. Zhang, now you can help me rescue my wife, right?" "Of course." Zhang Yi said to Lu Karen, "Karen, do him one more favor." He pointed at Park Guo-chang. Since he had chosen Park Guo-chang to be the head of the KG kingdom, he naturally had to give him a hand. Take advantage of the fact that the people deeply hate Ken Sane and that all the other generals are dead to build momentum for him. Park Guo-chang was now the only epsilon in the KG kingdom. With the right propaganda, he could ascend the throne right where he stood. Lu Karen nodded. "No problem, leave it to me." Zhang Yi took Hoou directly to the reform farm where Li Sunmi was being held. At this point, the place was already in chaos, with the prisoners rioting. The guards here were not strong, with only a dozen guns in total. This place used to be like a prison drawn on the ground, with no fear of prisoners escaping. Because outside this prison, there was an even bigger prison. Where could they escape to? But now it was different. The people here had also seen the images and leaflets. The raging fires in Prison City had caused the prisoners to start a riot. Zhang Yi quickly found Li Sunmi, who was panicking in the farm. When Hoou saw Li Sunmi, he was so excited that he immediately rushed over and hugged her, crying, "Sunmi, Sunmi! I've brought people to rescue you." Li Sunmi didn't look like she had suffered much injustice, nor did she look like she had endured much hunger. Although Ken Sane was a pervert who tortured her mentally and physically, he didn't skimp on food and warm clothes. Even though she was sent to a re-education farm to work, the people here didn't dare to treat her too harshly. After all, she had served the commander, so who knew when she would be released? When Li Sunmi saw who had come, she was shocked, and then her eyes filled with tears of excitement. "Hoou, is that you? Is it really you? I thought I would never see you again in this lifetime, woo woo woo." The two hugged each other and cried bitterly. Zhang Yi was in no hurry and waited nearby for them to finish crying. The two cried for a long time, venting the emotions that had been suppressed in their hearts for many days, before Hoou wiped Li Sunmi's tears. "Come, let me introduce you. This is our benefactor, our compatriot from our motherland. He traveled thousands of miles to come here and save you." Li Sunmi also hurriedly expressed her gratitude to Zhang Yi. Zhang Yi waved his hand. It's no big deal. What are your plans now? Do you want to stay in the Keiji kingdom or return to the Hoou kingdom? Hoou and Li Sunmi didn't hesitate and quickly said, we want to go back to our country. Zhang Yi nodded and decided to take the two of them back to Tianhai City. Hoou was a mutant with a talent for cooking. Although his supernatural abilities were low, he was still good at cooking for the people at the base. But even if the two of them couldn't do anything, Zhang Yi would still take them with him and let them stay in Tianhai City. This was because these two would be important propaganda material in the future. First, they would prove the legitimacy of Zhang Yi's team's arrival in the kingdom of Keiji. Second, they would publicize the authority of Zhang Yi and the kingdom of Keiji to the outside world. At this moment, a different image appeared on the huge display screen in the reform farm. Park Guochang's righteous face appeared before everyone. At this moment, all the display screens in the entire kingdom of Keiji were broadcasting this content. Everyone, the darkness is over. I, Park Guochang, commander of the 145th Armored Division and leader of the 5 generals of the Keiji Kingdom. Today, we have started a revolution for justice and overthrown the tyrannical rule of Kensane. From now on, you will no longer have to worry about being exploited by him. I will make sure that all the people of the Keiji Kingdom can eat rice and meat soup and wear warm clothes. The country will no longer belong to a select few. Everyone will be equal, and there will be no high and low, noble and ignoble. With that, he turned around to reveal the marshal's residence behind him, which had been blown to pieces. Don't be afraid anymore. Kensane is finished. Please put down your weapons and embrace your fellow countrymen. You are not enemies. Your only enemy is Kensane, and he is dead. Soldiers, put down your weapons and don't hurt your fellow countrymen. The sounds of the riot on the farm slowly subsided. All those who had come here had been persecuted by Kensane's regime. Once they arrived, they basically had only one fate, to work until they died and then be dragged away to become fertilizer. So at this moment, when they heard the news of Kensane's death, it was like seeing the light of the sun in the endless darkness. Kensane is dead? He's really dead. That big devil, that despicable and shameful son of a bitch, he's dead, ha ha ha. Heaven has eyes. I knew that people who do bad things will always get their punishment. General Park Guochang, you are the hero of the people. Long live General Park Guochang. Long live General Park Guochang. Li Sunmi was also moved to tears. She looked at Hoou in disbelief. Kensane is really dead? Hoou nodded vigorously. Yes, our suffering is over. I'll take you back to your country right away. Stockholm Syndrome is when a person who has been abused to a certain extent feels grateful for even the slightest kindness from their captor. That's why they felt that Park Guochang had rescued them, and they were extremely grateful to him. At this moment, Park Guochang, who was in Prison City, suddenly felt a surge of power gathering inside his body. He became very powerful, even more powerful than he had been at the peak of his powers. The Keiji Kingdom was a primitive and backward country, and the people were accustomed to being ruled by a god or an emperor. Now that Kensane was dead, he had inherited the power of that belief. However, without the spear of Longinus, he could not reach the same heights as Kensane. Park Guochang was so ambitious that he could hardly contain his joy. The one laughing in the end is me, ha ha ha. Not far away, Uncle Yu looked at Park Guochang, who looked like a petty man who had achieved his goal, and couldn't help but frown. Park Guochang, however, remained polite to them. It is thanks to all of you that I, Park Guochang, am where I am today. Please rest assured that I will do as His Excellency has instructed. He was not stupid. If Zhang Yi could kill Kensane, he could certainly kill him too. Anyway, he had already become the king of Keiji. It was no problem for him to bow and scrape to outsiders. His knees were weak anyway. Zhang Yi quickly arrived and said to Park Guochang, "You'd better get everything in the Keiji kingdom in order as soon as possible. There are quite a few people coveting this land right now." Park Guochang nodded repeatedly. Yes, yes, yes. I will keep this land for His Excellency Chaos. If you wish, I will give you the best piece of land. Park Guochang was very smart. The kingdom of Keiji was a small, backward country with a large area and a sparse population, originally located near the desert in Feizhou. Land was not actually the most important thing to them. Technology, population, energy, and food were what they needed most. If they could get on Zhang Yi's good side and give up some land for him to station his troops, it would definitely be a good deal. Zhang Yi smiled faintly and said nothing, but instead led the people around him and left the place. No matter how good this land was, it meant nothing to him. He knew that in this world, there would soon be no place that was safe. Zhang Yi took his people and returned directly to Tianhai City. He first handed Hoou and Li Sunmi over to the people at the base and told them to take good care of them. After all, they had suffered a lot during their time in the Keiji kingdom and were in poor health. Then, he sent a message to Olive, telling him that he had obtained the Spear of Longinus. Olive was well aware of the turmoil in the Keiji kingdom, but he didn't expect Zhang Yi to obtain the sealed item in such a short period of time. He couldn't help but ask, "You took the Spear of Longinus, but what about Ken Sane?" "I killed him," Zhang Yi said calmly. Olive took a deep breath. He knew better than anyone how difficult Ken Sane was to deal with, because the Eastern Orthodox Church was the largest religion in the world. In other words, Zhang Yi had nullified the power of Ken Sane's faith. "How did you do it?" he asked curiously. Zhang Yi smiled faintly, "Just reduced the faith of his people to 0. This matter could not be kept secret, so there was no need to hide it." Olive deeply realized that Zhang Yi was an extremely dangerous guy. Not only was he powerful, but he also had strong execution skills and wisdom. "Very good, now that you've completed the first step. Then we can set off for the Demon's Eye. All of us are waiting for you." Zhang Yi nodded. "All right, it's time to move on to the next step." He subconsciously placed his left hand on his chest, where there was a ferocious demon eye tattoo, as if a demon king from hell was staring at him. Until this problem was solved, Zhang Yi would not be able to rest easy. They immediately agreed to gather at an ancient city on the edge of the Sahara Desert the next day, and then set off together for the Demon's Eye. After Zhang Yi finished communicating with Olive, he quickly received a message from Xinjing. This time, it was Hoou himself who called him. As soon as the video connected, Hoou's slightly displeased expression appeared in front of Zhang Yi. "Chaos, you went to Feizhou and even used force there?" As the leader of the 6 major regions of the Hoou Kingdom, Xinjing was responsible for communicating with the outside world. This operation spanned half the planet and interfered with the affairs of another country, yet Zhang Yi didn't inform the Xinjing region of a single word, which naturally made Hoou and the others very unhappy. "Do you understand that what you did will cause a serious international dispute?" Zhang Yi smiled faintly and said, "2 of our compatriots were treated inhumanely in the Keiji kingdom. As a mutant from the Hoou kingdom, I traveled thousands of miles to rescue them. Doesn't this reflect the majesty of our great nation? From now on, I will let everyone know that the face of a Hoou kingdom citizen and a Hoou kingdom identity card are a safe pass to any part of the world." Hotou said speechlessly, "If you do this, it will be very difficult for the mutants of the 6 major regions to go to other countries to participate in operations in the future. They will be wary of us subverting their regimes. This is very troublesome, extremely troublesome. Do you understand?" Zhang Yi waved his hand. "The Holy See and the Nordic countries asked me to do this. The Keiji kingdom now has a new ruler, not me. I can now have the new leader of the Keiji kingdom announce to the outside world that we are their allies who were asked to overthrow tyranny, that we are an army of justice." Hotou sighed, "You're making it sound too simple." Zhang Yi smiled faintly, his face unconcerned. Of course, he couldn't tell Hoou's real purpose for going to the Keiji kingdom. Whether it was the demon eye tattoo, the inheritance he and Yang Xinxin had obtained from Tianyu Palace, or Ling's mechanical shell left behind in Mammon's sealed place, these were all secrets that couldn't be revealed. Sure enough, Hotou also asked his own question. "Chaos, you've never been one to stir up trouble. This time, you've traveled thousands of miles to do something so difficult and thankless. What exactly is your purpose? Hotou stared at Zhang Yi, trying to see through him. What kind of benefits did they promise you to make you go against your own principles? Zhang Yi rubbed his hands together and said in a deep voice, I just want to save this world. You should know that the monster that appeared in Chernobyl has the ability to destroy the world. We must seal it away. This matter was already known to the whole world, and it was impossible for Xinjing not to investigate. Oh, so you're doing this for the greater good of humanity? Hotou looked incredulous. Are you kidding? Since when did you, Zhang Yi, become such a selfless person? You wouldn't do something like this without any benefits. Zhang Yi didn't bother to continue answering Hotou's questions. He leaned back on the sofa and said lazily, that's my secret. As one of the 2 highest-level bishop mutants in the Hoou kingdom, Zhang Yi didn't necessarily look down on Hotou, but he didn't feel the need to fear her either. He said what he wanted to say and didn't say what he didn't want to say. Besides, didn't Hotou have secrets of her own? Zhang Yi didn't follow her around asking her questions either. Hotou sensed Zhang Yi's displeasure and frowned slightly. Are you planning to go to the Sahara Desert and enter the sealed land of Zhulong? That's too dangerous. That's not something humans can fight against. Zhang Yi said indifferently, I have my own considerations. At this point, if Hotou still couldn't figure out that Zhang Yi was hiding a secret about Mammon, she would be too stupid. However, she still wanted to try to persuade Zhang Yi one more time. I don't know what you went through in Chernobyl, but I hope you remember that we, the Hoou kingdom, are one. You don't have to bear the burden alone. You've been through a lot these past few years, so you might look down on us regional forces. But trust me, only by becoming one can we better face the calamities of this apocalyptic world. At this point, she paused, as if to gain Zhang Yi's trust, and revealed a secret. These past few years, we've been actively contacting the Dragon Clan beneath the Qinling Mountains. Perhaps in the near future, we'll be able to rely on their strength. Chaos, you have performed very well outside. In the future, you will be the pillar of the Hoou kingdom. Even the Dragon Clan in the Qinling Mountains has been paying close attention to your actions. Hearing this, Zhang Yi's eyes suddenly flashed with a fierce light. My actions? Did you reveal them to them? Hotou was silent for a moment, then said, they have no ill will towards us. In fact, it can even be said that they have promoted the development of our civilization. Zhang Yi also frowned. The Qinling Mountain Dragon Clan had indeed treated them very well. The first time he entered the Qinling Mountains, he stole a spirit of sacrifice, thinking that he was just lucky. Now that he had become a bishop-level mutant, he realized that they had let him go on purpose. Later, White Dragon saved the entire Hoou kingdom. However, Zhang Yi did not want to rely entirely on others. Wasn't the Dragon Clan of Qinling Mountain also hiding underground? That meant that when faced with a world-destroying disaster, they had no choice but to flee. People are only valued when they have value. Now that Zhang Yi had been marked by Mammon, he didn't believe that anyone would fight against the Drucker gods for him. What's more, he had inherited the legacy of the Yihan tribe, which made him an easy target for all sides. He couldn't even trust the Dragon Clan of Qinling Mountain. Realistically speaking, even humans of the same species couldn't be trusted, let alone ancient humans of a different race. Hotou fell into a long silence. After all, she wasn't good at talking to people. However, if she let Meng Yuanjun or Shang Daowen talk to Zhang Yi, he probably wouldn't even listen to them. When there was an imbalance of power, so-called negotiations were nothing more than self-humiliation. Zhang Yi was like a piece of meat that had been rolled in a knife, impervious to oil and salt. Hotou was helpless, so she could only say to Zhang Yi, Chaos, I just think that if there really is something good under the demon's eye, then rather than letting others get it for cheap, we might as well get it for ourselves. When the time comes, the Xinjiang region would also like to participate. After all the fuss, she actually just wanted a piece of the pie. To put it bluntly, due to her ability attributes, Hotou couldn't easily leave the Hoou kingdom. After the trip to Fremons, the whole world knew that Zhang Yi had gained a lot, so who wouldn't be jealous? The Xinjiang region couldn't sit still, so Hotou suggested, "Can Shang Daowen go with you on this mission?" Zhang Yi raised his eyebrows. "Let him go. What can you offer me in return?" Hotou said, "A black chariot-level mutant, all kinds of resources and weapons will be provided. Even space-based weapons can be used to assist you." This time, Zhang Yi really laughed. "I don't need mutants. I have plenty of weapons and resources. As for space-based weapons, are you sure they can work underground?" Now that it came down to a competition of resources, Tianhai City had probably surpassed any other district. During his trip to Fremons, he had obtained many valuable items from Tianyu Palace and the mechanical civilization. Hotou couldn't help but ask, "Must you be so heartless?" "Heartless?" Zhang Yi smiled faintly, "That's not impossible. But I never make a deal at a loss. You have to give me something of value in return, right? For example," Zhang Yi said with a smile, "let me communicate directly with the dragon clan of Qinling Mountain. How about that?" Zhang Yi was very curious about the dragon clan of Qinling Mountain. So far, they were the only group that had shown goodwill toward humans. Perhaps he could learn more about the end of the world and the Drucker gods from them. The information from the Yihen tribe was only a part of the whole picture. You couldn't expect a tribe that had already lost interest in life to give you much before they destroyed themselves. According to Ling, they had stopped paying attention to the affairs of the planet billions of years ago. But it was clear that the dragon clan of the Qinling Mountains was closer to the current generation of humans. If I'm not mistaken, the Qinling Dragon Clan, the Nash Kingdom, the country of Zephan under Neon, and the Wulwan Empire all came from the fifth generation of humans, the Ecuadorians. What they have in common is that they all have reptilian characteristics.